Hello and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Daniela Szep and I'll be the host of today's talk. So my topic is teenagers in the language learning community, as I am a teenager and a language enthusiast. So I decided to pick this topic as I've been passionate about languages for the last 4 or 5 years. And so I wanted to share an insight from a point of teenager on the language learning community and maybe share with you some of the insights and the experience I had as a teenager in the language learning community. And also we'll discuss several topics in today's talk, such as the differences when it comes to language learning, differences between an adult and a teenager. We'll discuss how the internet impacts teenagers to start learning new languages and several other topics. So I'm very happy to see you all here today, even though we are still in this so-called online form, but well, what can we do? The situation in the world is so that we have to sacrifice some things. So yes, I guess I have to also say that this is my first time giving a talk, so let's say I'm excited and nervous at the same time. So yeah, I'll try my best. Okay, so as you can see, they're just in the language learning community and Polyglot Gathering Online 2021. And yeah, the summary of today's talks, we have a better understanding on what will be happening in today's talk is the first part will be a short introduction of myself, aka who am I and why am I giving this talk today. In this section, I'll maybe tell more things about myself, how I started learning languages, what's my background, where I'm from, how old am I, and so on. The second part will be the polyglot community is growing, or there are always more and more young polyglots. This part will explain the why is this happening, why more and more young people are getting interested in learning new languages. And yeah, the third point is also related to the previous one, as the internet has a huge impact on all of us, especially in the last 1 or maybe even 2 years. The fourth topic of today's talk is the differences between an adult and a teenager when it comes to language learning. And yeah, last but not least, multilingual Q&A. I'll do a multilingual Q&A at the end of this talk, where you can ask me all the questions you have to me personally, or maybe to some of the things I said in this talk. So yeah, wait until the end and you'll be able to ask me any question you want in different languages. Of course, I'll reply only in the languages I actually know. So yeah, let's get started. About myself. My name is Daniela Szep, also known by some of you as the language enthusiast girl, as this is my, let's say, my online pseudonym, which I use as a language content creator on Instagram. This is the nickname I also use on when I stream on the streaming platform Twitch, and I also have a YouTube channel. So I am originally from Ukraine, from Kiev. I've been born there, but I moved abroad when I was about 5 years old. So currently I'm living in Hungary. So from this, you can also kind of get the idea of that I've been raised bilingual, because I come from a family where we speak 2 languages, Russian and Hungarian. And apart from Hungary and Ukraine, I've also lived in 4 other countries, namely in, well, Ukraine, as I already mentioned, Slovakia, Hungary, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. So far, well, yeah, because here I want to underline the part so far because I plan to live in different countries in the future as well. Okay, so I started learning languages more seriously at the age of 14, and Italian was actually the first language that sparked my interest and that I wanted to learn. And yeah, from that point on, I'm being a huge language fan. I've learned over 10 languages, mostly on my own because one is never enough, especially when it comes to languages. Yeah, and so now you might wonder which are the languages I speak. And so these are basically Russian being my native language that I speak every day. Hungarian being my, we can say, second language that I also use in my everyday life. Slovak, since I lived in Slovakia for 4 years, so if we sum up together. And I also went to a bilingual Slovak Hungarian school for almost all of my life. So these would be the 3 languages I speak, let's say, on more the best. Also, I speak English because, well, I've attended an international school for 3 years while living in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I speak German because German was the foreign language that I studied for over 6 years. Ukrainian, and here it's a bit tricky because, yes, you might ask me now, but aren't you Ukrainian? And the answer is yes, I am. But I am from those people whose native language is Russian, because for those of you who don't know, in Ukraine we speak 2 languages, even though we have only one official language, that's Ukrainian. But still, there's still a big, let's say, linguistical minority, or maybe even majority, of people who speak Russian as well, or maybe as their native language, as it is in my case. I also speak Bosnian, Serbian, Croatian, or Serbo-Croatian, however you want to call it. Because, as I already mentioned, I lived in Bosnia and Herzegovina for 3 years. Italian was the first language I learned by myself, and that the language from which actually all of this my language journey started, let's say. I speak Spanish, Latin American Spanish, for those who want to know. I speak Brazilian Portuguese, and I speak French because I learned French for 1.5 years in school, and of course by myself as well. And so, yes, these would be the languages I speak, that I consider myself conversational in. And now let's get to the languages I started learning recently, and that is the first language I started learning recently is Mandarin Chinese. I think we all know, and we can't deny the importance of this language in today's world. I speak a bit of Turkish. I had a lot of exposure to Turkish culture while living in Bosnia and Herzegovina for its history, and I also had a lot of Turkish friends while living in Bosnia. So yes, I also know a bit of Turkish. Then I speak a bit of modern Hebrew. I speak a bit of modern Greek, a bit of Dutch. And now I want to start learning a new language. Which language could it be? And yes, it's Polish, because the next polyglot gathering hopefully will be in Poland. So yes, Polish is definitely a language I want to learn, and apart from that, it's also one of my heritage languages. Okay, so the levels I have in these languages, my native language is obviously Russian, as I've grew up speaking this language every day. So you probably, as a language learner, you already saw this scheme somewhere. This is the European framework of reference. And here you can see the different language levels you can get. So I have a C level, that is, I'm proficient user of 4 languages. I am an independent user of 6 languages, the languages I can have a conversation in, but still my knowledge is still not that deep as I would like to. And I am a basic user or a beginner, in other words, and 6 more languages. And yeah, that would be the short introduction of myself. And now let's get to our main topic today, which is, the polyglot community is growing like never before. More young people are getting into language learning. The world has never seen so many young people learning foreign languages like today. And now I'll explain why, and why is this happening? What are the reasons behind it? So the main reasons people start learning a new language. A lot of people start learning a foreign language in order to pursue their studies abroad. They want to get a better higher education. So a lot of people learn these languages. One of the option is in order to get into a better university. And the second reason is obviously because of the compulsory language learning we all had at some point of our life. For some of you, it was, I don't know, Russian. For some of you, it was like English. Okay, we all learn English in school. Then for some of you, it was German, and so on. So yeah, the second reason why people start learning a new language is in order to get better job opportunities, as we can't deny, again, the fact that getting in order to get a second. Okay. So as we can't deny the importance of knowing foreign languages, and we can't deny that knowing a new language and being able to speak in a foreign language is a great advantage, especially when it comes to getting a new job. So a lot of people also learn languages in order to improve their job opportunities. And as well, if they want to work abroad, then obviously it is very advisable to know the language of the country you want to work in. Okay, the next category is what I like to call the international couples, and here it has 2 subcategories. The first one is their children, that is the offsprings of international already formed couples. Their children, in the 90% of the cases, are bilingual. But another observation that was made is that children who are bilingual, they also tend to carry on studying new languages, as for them, languages is something they see language learning in a bit different form. So usually from the statistics I've made and other people made, bilingual children carry on studying new languages. They have bigger tendency to it or whatsoever. And the second category of this is newly formed international couples, where you want to learn the language of your partner. The next reason why people learn languages is immigration. It can be in order for improve your living conditions, in search for a better life, better future, so to say. Or the second category can be expats, people who want to move abroad for some reason. We all have our own reason when we immigrate, so each case is unique, obviously. Another reason why people learn languages is because of hobby, because they just like it, like myself or a lot of you. I'm sure we enjoy learning languages, and it's something fun for us. We discovered the way of learning languages that can be fun, and we made it as our hobby. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to our job, for example. It can be just a side hobby, or for some of you, it's also your profession. So, or however, related to your profession. Another reason is the culture, because people are interested in a given country's culture and they want to get to know that country better. And of course, what better way is there in order to get to know better a country and the culture than learning its language, as the language mirrors perfectly the culture of a country and vice versa. Other people learn languages as a way of self-improvement, as we all know the benefits. We all heard about the benefits of learning a second or etc. language. It improves memory and concentration, and the list goes on. Yeah, and many more. We all have our own reason. All the reasons why we or you study languages is unique and special. So yes. And now let's jump into our next topic, that is internet and our generation, the generation of teenagers, Gen Zs, whatever you want to call them, us. Yeah, and so you might ask, what influence does internet have on us, and how does it make learning a new language easier? And the answer is here. You can learn any language. You need only one thing: internet connection. Duh, pretty obvious. Of course, there are a lot of ways to learn languages, but in today's world, we can't deny the importance of internet on the way our life functions, and this whole lockdown that was few months ago. Well, depends where you live. It has just proved that. So yes. We have a lot of opportunities to learn foreign languages nowadays. The world is more globalized, and that means that you don't even have to travel far in order to get the possibility to practice a foreign language or communicate with foreigners, or however have the contact with different cultures. Because if you live in a multicultural city environment, then you can already have the connection with foreign cultures without even leaving your city. Of course, it's always better to travel, but you don't have to travel in order to learn a new language. And here's why. We can connect with people from all around the world in a matter of minutes, sometimes seconds even. So language exchange apps, social media, find yourself a pen pal. We all heard about these ways to practice foreign languages. And I think that our generation, and generally all the people who have access to these to internet and all the good things that it can offer, we all are very lucky to have all of these and these apps, websites, and so on, because we don't even have to leave our home at this point. We just have to go online and find ourselves a language partner, and you can already practice via social media, via Skype, etc. You can download some language exchange apps. So yeah, find yourself a pen pal if you like sending letters. Yeah, you can also hire an online teacher. That's also a good way to practice languages. And thanks to the platforms that exist today, for example, italki or other platforms, you can get yourself native language teacher, again, in a matter of minutes or even seconds. And so, yeah, there are also dozens of language apps. Internet makes language learning so much easier. We can't deny this fact. And yeah, you can also find a lot of language learning books, videos, articles, grammar explanations for free. So you don't even have to pay for it. You can literally find the thing you're looking for online, absolutely for free. Okay. So also many teenagers get inspired to learn a new language through the internet, from platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. There are a lot of, we already heard about these platforms. Like I myself am a language content creator, so to say. So this world is pretty familiar to me. And yeah, also we have to mention video games, virtual chats such as Omegle, or any other language virtual chat rooms, as whatsoever. So yes, also the modern, so to say, phenomenon of 21st century, especially now among the teenage girls and boys even, such as K-pop, K-dramas, thanks to Netflix and its additional tool, the learn languages in Netflix. You can also learn languages literally by watching movies or series you enjoy. So get the double use of it. Yeah, animes, memes, yeah, dramas. The most popular ones, well, as far as I know, from the people I talk to, are the Korean dramas or Chinese drama, Japanese dramas, and Turkish dramas. Yeah, and so I also conducted a survey on Instagram, and these were the results. And the survey was about what are the differences between an adult and a teenager when it comes to language learning. So let's see what my audience responded. So the first thing is that teenagers generally, and here I want to underline this generally part, have more time. Of course, we also have school, but we still have less responsibilities compared to adults who have families, for example, where they have to work, etc. The second thing would be that teenagers' brain is still more flexible, so they can memorize bigger amount of information faster. Of course, here doesn't mean that if you're not a teenager, you can memorize all that information. However, still, teenagers have a more flexible brain when it comes to it. And this was a study, so it's not me saying this. Yeah, but you can always improve. You can always train your memory and so on. So maybe it will take more time, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. So yeah, another important point from the psychological point of view is that adults have fixed beliefs about language learning, such as I'm too old for this language is too difficult, I don't have time. Yeah, we all heard them. Maybe even you said them at some point of your life. So Yes, and when it comes to teenagers, they're more relaxed about it, so they just go after their passion or interest, and with the mindset of why not? Why not to try this? I like this, so why don't try this? Like, mm, what bad can happen from this? So we can say that generally teenagers tend to be more open to new things and experiences. um, Also, another thing is that teenagers use many different resources, mainly audiovisual content, whereas adults tend to have a more book-based approach to language learning. Some would call this a traditional uh, approach to language learning. But yeah, we can't deny that teenagers still spend more time online, on the internet, on social media. So YouTube, for example, just a great example of it. So yes, and an observation from me would be that adults also go on language courses or hire a teacher more often than teenagers. And now we're perfectly in time, and let's get to our multilingual Q&A. How many new languages do you juggle at a time? Do you do the just add one method or start many at once? Well, I'd say that I'm guilty of studying a lot of languages at the same time. So maybe this is not the best method, and I don't really recommend it to people, as perhaps it is better to learn one language but learn it truly well than study a lot of languages at the same time. But I think that it's not a problem, generally speaking, if you study a lot of languages at the same time, but you should still try to get at least B1 or B2 level before starting learning a new one. And so if you get all of those languages to a B1 or B2 level, well then, that's great. Okay, next question. What methods did you use at 14 old while learning Italian? Well, to be honest, when I started learning Italian, I didn't have much experience, so I didn't have my own method. I tried a lot of methods, to be honest. Um, I started learning Italian by reading a language manual called Italianski za 3 месяца, or Italian 3 months. Of course, it didn't work out. I didn't learn Italian 3 months. So I had to choose another one. And so I started watching YouTube. I started following a lot of Italian influencers on Instagram, primarily on YouTube. I started watching a lot of Italian movies. Like I think I watch more Italian movies than I watch Russian movies at this point. So yes, I'd say I wasn't studying Italian. I was more acquiring this language. So I tried to learn Italian in a more natural way. That is, I didn't go on language courses. I was just listening to that language. I was watching how Italians speak that language, and when I already got to decent level, let's say when I was already feeling like I could have a conversation in this language, then I just started speaking to Italians, and I wasn't differentiating between Italian and my native language, where that's what I do in other languages too. Like for me, if I say that I speak this language, I speak this language in all the ways, shapes, forms. So I don't make difference between a native language and a language I learned, because for me they all become more familiar and familiar. But if you want methods, like concrete methods, then I would say that consume a lot of listen a lot to the language, get a lot of content with this language, and also a good way is to write down the new phrases you hear, but only the ones you know that you're gonna use. Like, of course, the more phrases or languages you know, the better. Uh, Languages, what I'm saying, words, the better. But still, don't learn things, especially at the beginning stage, that you're not sure that you're gonna use. So here I would say that listen a lot to the language, listen how the native speakers speak this language, to get the right intonation, to know how what words they use, how they form phrases and so on, and then just apply this to the way you speak and just imitate them. Basically, it's about imitation, because if you think about it, how you learned your own native language, well, by listening and repeating, listening and repeating. So that's the same thing. It goes with other languages too. That would be my answer. Okay, next one. How are you maintaining so many languages on such a high level? Well, again, it's a bit debatable, high level or not, but it's relative. But I would say that, as I already mentioned in the previous question, I don't make difference between my own language and other languages, because for me, those languages are also in a way my languages, because I say that I speak them, so I have a connection with them, and so I try to speak to people in their own language. So let's say I have X amount of friends, and with each of them I speak in their own language, and so this way I can have a conversation in like up to 10, 11. Like my record so far was 15 languages in one day. So I would just say that I try to use them. That's like the okay, maybe it's a primitive answer, and it can be, it's pretty obvious, but just use those languages, because if they're just staying there somewhere, like somewhere in your brain, okay, but if you don't use them, then what do they serve for? So I just say here, use those languages every time you can. And if you don't have the possibility to actively use those languages, then try to have a lot of passive income, passive hearing, passive passive content, connection with the language, a lot of exposure, and listen to that language. Like if you can speak that language in one day, then just try to listen to it. Okay, next question. What is your aim of learning each time a new language, or is it just your hobby with each of these languages? Well, let's say that if I learn a language, I have a reason to learn it. My main reason, for now at least, has been that I want to work in with international relations. So I need those languages for like each of them for one or other reason, and the other ones I learned because I was living in an environment where they were spoken. Okay, and of course it's also a hobby. Okay, next question. How did you start with Chinese? I really would love to learn Japanese, but I'm afraid I will find it too difficult and won't stick to it. And any tips? Yes. Okay. Well, first of all, the first, I'll say the most important things of any journey is to take the first step. So put yourself out there. And about my Chinese, I don't say that I speak perfect Chinese or anything. I'm far from being there yet, but what I did basically is that I tried to learn all of the words I use in other languages, like in my everyday life, such as how to say I know, I don't know, how to say my name is, I'm from, what, I don't remember, I forgot, how do you say this, how to say that, this, that, I want, I don't want, and so on. So basically things that you could already utilize from day one. That would be the first advice, basically. And don't be scared to find it difficult, because objectively, well, of course it's relative, but I think if you find the right approach, then every language can be easy or difficult depending on how you see it. So that would be my biggest tip. Okay, next question. Should I go to italki and start speaking from day one, or should I first reach level A2 through self-studying and then try to speak? Yes, I would say that personally, I would recommend you to first reach an A2, or in other words, a conversational level where you can already know that yes, you're gonna be able to maintain that conversation. Because if you're gonna go there and try to speak from day one, okay, cool, but still, if you don't know still what to say, how to communicate with the person, I think it's better to wait. Yeah. So I would say get first a level where you feel that you can maintain a conversation, even if it's gonna be just an easy conversation, and about, I don't know, about yourself, about self introduction, about some basic things. But yeah, first get the conversation level in that language, and then hire a teacher. Okay, next question. Do you have offline friends with whom you party partake in activities related to language learning? Well, in the last 1 year, not really, because we were all in quarantine. So everything went online, and in one way, we can say so. But I have a good friend who is organizing online streaming on language games, and his name is Water Cordwinner, and he's also a YouTuber. So thanks to him, I found a lot of new friends on his streams. So yes, I was mainly practicing languages in his online streaming game on Twitch, and on yeah. But of course, if I have the opportunity to practice my languages in real life, then of course I'm gonna take this opportunity, because I think every and any way of practicing a language is great. So yes, if I have this opportunity, I will definitely use this method too. But unfortunately, all my offline friends, they don't really speak more than 2 or 3 languages, so that could be a problem. So yes, hope I answered your question. Next question. How do you find out which level you're in? Well, first of all, there are a lot of language tests you can find online as well. If you want to have a more academic and professional feedback, then of course you can also go to cultural center of the language or you're learning, and take a placement test there as well. This could be a good option. But if you want to get a quick answer to what language you are in, and maybe the disadvantage of it would be that those tests are not 100% correct. But if I want to know what language I'm in, then I do an online placement test. And of course, let's say I also have my own way of saying, like, understanding which level I'm in. And what I do is basically, I say I have the completely beginner stage, where I know maybe like 5 words. That's it. That would be the beginner stage, like absolutely zero. Then the higher level would be the level where I can introduce myself. Well, I can have a really basic conversation on really basic things. Then I have what you'd call in the Common European Framework of Reference the B1 level, more or less, where I can already have a conversation more, let's say, advanced topics, that would be an okay level, let's say. It's okay if you don't plan to go too deep in that language. Then B2 level is already where I can have a comfortable conversation where I already understand, like, let's say 70%, 65% of the language. This is the level I'm aiming in before starting learning new languages. And then of course comes the C1, C2. These are the levels of like highest mastery, so to say. So that would be the final goal. Yeah, okay, next question. Which language exchange app do you use? Do you pay for it, or you give in return a language exchange class? I have a lot of language learner friends, polyglot friends. So usually we do a language exchange class. So basically, I teach them one language, or we practice a lot of languages. So you can't even say that it's like a serious language exchange, something. We're just having a friendly conversation, but in different languages. So yes, I don't know if you can call it a language exchange or whatever. But I also used to use language exchange apps, such as, like, if I remember correctly, it was called like Speak or something, and there was also an older website that was called Interpulse, and I was also using Tandem, HelloTalk. I think I tried all of them at some point in my life. So yes, but I would recommend Tandem. That was my favorite one so far. Next question. Which is your method to learn all languages? Well, as I already said in one of the previous questions, I just try to acquire that language instead of studying it, like studying. Because to be honest, I think that, okay, you can try to study the language that way too, in a more academic way, like you studied back in school. But for me, and from my experience and from the people I talked to, that method wasn't really successful. So I say just try to acquire the language and try to make this whole language learning process as fun as you can. Like, don't take it as a duty. Take it as a new opportunity to learn a new language, to meet new people, to get to know a new culture. After all, because these are all beautiful things that language learning come with. So try to take language learning as something fun to do instead of a duty, and try to acquire the language instead of studying it. These were all of the questions. So thank you so much for being here today, for listening to my talk. And yeah, see you around. Will be cool to practice languages with you. So if you want to contact me, you can find me on Instagram by the nickname of the Language Enthusiast Girl altogether. You can also add me on Facebook, Daniela Szep, and I also have a YouTube channel, Daniela Szep, as well, where I make different language learning related content. So if you are interested in languages, which you probably are if you are here, then make sure to check it out, and I'll see you around. Bye.